At the break, we mentioned that we're going to be talking to a fellow by the name of Len Aucoin, a local inventor, and he's come up with a processing system to make biodiesel in 9 easy steps. We caught up with him in studio here a few weeks ago, and he talked about how he came up with the idea and walked us through his system. We'll join them now. Renewable energy is a hot topic in agriculture today. I'm Rob Eric, and I'm here with Len Aucoin for This Country Called Agriculture. Len, you've invented a biodiesel manufacturing system called the Bio Diesel Reactor. Tell us about it.
Well, Rob, I started a few years ago finding a need for alternate fuels, which was a hot topic those days, and I started making a bit of biodiesel in some mason jars to see if I could make it work, and it was very hard at first because it was a new thing to me. Now, I'm not a chemist. I'm a plumber by trade, so once I got the idea kind of figured out in mason jars, and being a plumber by trade, I built a plant, and that's what it is today, is a Bio Diesel Reactor.
This is the Bio Diesel Reactor, and Len, you've spent the last 8 years in development with this unit, and it's finally on market. So we're going to talk a little bit about today, but I think what I want everybody to see is, we've got canola from the fields, coming off the fields here locally. What we're doing with this unit is we're crushing, we're taking it in a crushed form as raw canola oil and moving it now into biodiesel, which Len has a jar of it there. Okay, Len, we've got a unit here. You're doing what, about 300 liters, is it?
This unit will do 300 liters in about 3.5 to 4 days.
Okay.
Because it's a process of material settling by gravity, so you can't speed gravity up.
That's right. Now, I heard somebody say if you can count to 9, you can make biodiesel. Is that
right?
Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly why I put the numbers on the valves.
Okay.
So once you got your raw products in here, it's just a matter of opening different valves. And being, of course, plumber background, it's pretty... something won't work if you don't open the right valve. So if you can go from 1 to 9, you can make fuel with this.
So talk us through this now.
The way that this reactor actually works is we need a product to put in here. So what we do is the farmer would actually have his canola seeds, and he would, if some of his canola got heated or something wrong with it, it always make fuel with that canola seed. So what you do is you get yourself a crusher, which would go in conjunction with a plant like this. You would take the canola seed, and we're going to crush it, and we are going to make some raw canola oil. Now, this oil has got other stuff inside it, and that's what the reactor is for, is to take that material out so you can come out with biodiesel. So the way that the process would work is we would take this tank here, we would pump in 150 liters raw canola oil in here. You warm it up because the canola oil gets a better reaction if it's warm. So we don't want to warm it too hot. 130 degrees is just fine. So we get the oil in here, and it's heated up to 130 degrees. Now, the next thing that we have is we have to do a chemical reaction. So over on this side, we have a methoxide vessel, and this is actually what it is methanol and sodium hydroxide, which is actually household lye. Okay, now we are ready to make our fuel, our biodiesel. So what we want to do is we want to open up valve number 3 and valve number 4. So the oil, the raw canola oil, is going to come out through valve number 3, go through the pump, come up through this pipe right here, and you can actually see it through the clear plastic pipe. That's why I made it simple like this, so you can see where the fuel is going through. Goes through 4 and goes into the tank. So the fuel is now mixing in there, just the raw oil. So now what we want to do now is we want to get this methoxide injected into that oil. So we open up valve number 1. We crack it open a bit just so you get a small flow in here. The flow is going to flow through this T, and it gets injected into the oil.
So we're at step 5 right now with this, aren't we?
To inject this methoxide will take about 10 minutes. You want to go slow because don't forget, it's a chemical process. If you go too fast, you get clumps. It's very simple, but don't overlook a step. You learn by your mistakes. So we got valve number 1, is cracked open. The oil is going through. Now it's getting injected with methoxide. And this is where the magic happens. The chemical reaction actually happens as it's mixing. So now this tank is empty. We just shut valve number 1 off. We let that mix for at least 1 hour.
So that's
so you get
coffee. Okay, excellent.
That's your coffee. So what happens during that hour is the molecules are seeing this methoxide. You want to hit every molecule of oil in there to make it do its transvestification of all the big fancy words, right?
Transesterification. Yeah,
yes.
Love that word, biodiesel.
Love it, yes. And that's what's actually happening in here. So we mix it for an hour, and then we shut it off. Okay? Now we're done for tonight. We let that sit. And that's the way I normally timed it. I start Friday night. Okay, now this would be, say, Saturday morning. In here, the chemical reaction has taken place. The glycerin has actually separated from the oil, from the diesel. So the glycerin, which we have here, is dark black. And it's full of methanol and the glycerin part of the oil. And it settles to the bottom because it's heavy. So we want to get rid of that. So now we're going to open valve number 5. You put your 5-gallon pail underneath here. You can set up whichever way you feel comfortable. That's the way I do it. I put a pail here and I pull out the glycerin until this runs clear. Shut the valve off. Now we've got the glycerin pulled away. I'm going to take my fuel now and I'm going to pump it into the wash tank. Okay? And this is what this wash tank is. So these valves would be all closed. We open up the valve over here, valve number 3 again. We're at valve number 6 now. We're pumping the oil, the biodiesel now, into here. It is fairly clean, but it's still got particles of methanol, particles of lye in it. And we want to clean that. The best way to clean something is with water. So we're going to hook a garden hose on here, right there. Simple, right? The garden hose sprays the water with a real fine mist. A cloud of water is going to sit on top of this oil. If you were to put the hose right in there, it will just emulsify and just get white, and you'll never separate it. You want to lay a cloud of water on here. Now, as we learned in high school, water has got a relative density of 1. The biodiesel has got a relative density of 0.87. What's going to go to the bottom is the water. And as the water goes to the bottom, it's going to bring down with it the methanol, which attracts the water. The particles of lye is going to go in the bottom. It's going to turn that water all white. Then we open up valve number 7. We drain the water out. We close it off. We do this twice, 2 times.
Why?
To make sure that we get all the methanol out of the oil. So what we want to attempt here is to get our fuel to CSA standards, to get it perfectly clean.
And on that note, the whole machine is up to CSA standard.
This is all up to CSA standard. This fuel, I've actually taken this fuel and I've got it tested through ASTM, and it met every standard with ASTM, top grade fuel. If you take your time, it's easily done. If you go fast, that's when people say, oh yeah, but it's going to plug all my injectors and all that. That's because it's full of soot, and the soot is glycerin that's still in the oil or pieces like that, right? If it's clean fuel, it burns like a hot damn. So now we got fuel in here. The 3rd time, we got the water in here, and it settles to the bottom, and it's fairly clean, but we want it cleaner. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop in a little hose in here, and it's got a little aerator in the bottom, and we hook a little compressor here, which we can get anywheres, a little fish tank aerator. We put air bubbles to the bottom, and we turn it on. So the air bubbles now are going to come to the top of the fuel, carrying with it water. The water goes to the top of the fuel. The bubble breaks, the water drops down, so you get a washing action of that fuel. We let that go overnight, 3-4 hours overnight. I do overnight because I'm used to doing that.
But you could do it faster, couldn't you?
You could do it faster, yeah. In fact, it doesn't take all night long, but then, you know, the longer you do your process, the cleaner your fuel, and I strive for fuel that you could read a newspaper through it.
You have 2 Mercedes, you have some heavy equipment, and you have a Volkswagen Jetta and a Cummins diesel and a Dodge.
I got a brand new 2012 Dodge Cummins diesel. I'm burning 100% biodiesel out of these plants.
So, biodiesel in 9 easy steps. counting to 9, get biodiesel. Here's our finished product ready to go into the car. Len, where's your Mercedes again?